Hello, my friend, and welcome to today's episode of Best English Podcast. I'm really happy you are here because today we're going to talk about one of the most important secrets of learning English fluently. That secret is improving your listening skills. Maybe this sounds familiar. You can read a text and understand most of the words. You can even answer grammar questions correctly. But when you listen to a movie, a YouTube video, or even a podcast, everything feels too fast. It's like all the words are connected together and you only catch one or two. By the time you understand, the speaker is already on the next sentence. You are not alone. Many English learners around the world face the same challenge. In fact, I remember one of my students, Mariam. She loved reading novels in English and could explain grammar rules better than most of her classmates. But when she tried to watch a TV series, she felt frustrated. "I know the words when I see them," she said. "But when I hear them, it feels like another language." The truth is this: listening is not just hearing sounds. Listening is an active skill. It's something you can train, just like exercising a muscle. The more you practice in the right way, the stronger your listening becomes. And here's the magic: when you improve your listening, your speaking will also improve. Why? Because the way you speak depends on the way you hear. You start to copy rhythm, intonation, and natural expressions. So, in this episode, we're going to take a journey together. Step by step, you'll discover practical methods to train your ears, understand native speakers more easily, and finally, use listening as a tool to speak fluently. By the end of this episode, listening will not feel like your weakness anymore. It will become your strength. You're listening to Best English Podcast. If you find this helpful, don't forget to follow and share it with a friend who also wants to boost their English. Now, let's look at some common problems that make listening difficult, and don't worry, we'll learn how to overcome each one. The first problem is speed. Native speakers often talk very fast. They connect words, shorten sounds, and sometimes even skip small words. For example, "I am going to" often sounds like "I'm gonna." If you haven't practiced listening, this can feel like a wall you cannot climb. The second problem is different accents. English is spoken differently in the US, UK, Australia, and many other countries. Words can sound unfamiliar even if you know them. For instance, the word water sounds like water in the US and woto in the UK. It can be confusing at first, but exposure helps. The third problem is missing small details. Prepositions, phrasal verbs, and connecting words are often not noticed. For example, look after means take care of, not just look. If you ignore these, your understanding is incomplete. Here's a small practice you can do right now. Imagine you hear these three sentences. 1. She's going to the market. 2. I'm looking after my brother. 3. We're gonna watch a movie tonight. Listen carefully and try to catch the words that sound shortened or combined. Repeat them aloud. This simple exercise trains your brain to notice details native speakers naturally say. One of my friends once told me that when he started focusing on these small problems, everything changed. He could follow YouTube videos, understand songs, and even enjoy podcasts. His confidence grew quickly, and yours can too. So now that we know the challenges, the next step is learning how to train your ears step by step without feeling overwhelmed. One of the most important ways to improve your listening skills is to start with short audio clips. When sentences or dialogues are short, your brain has time to hear each word, process it, and remember it. If you jump straight into long, complex recordings, it's easy to get overwhelmed or tired, and your motivation may drop. Another very effective method is the listen, pause, repeat technique. First, listen to a sentence carefully, then pause and repeat the sentence out loud in your own voice. This helps your ears get stronger and also trains your speech muscles to produce correct pronunciation. For example, if you hear the sentence, "She is walking to the park," first just listen and pay attention to the rhythm and sounds. Then pause and try to repeat the sentence exactly as you heard it. Repeating it several times helps it stick in your memory and builds your confidence for speaking. Another helpful practice is to focus on keywords. While listening, notice new or important words and repeat them aloud. This not only helps you understand meaning better, but also improves your pronunciation over time. A short story. One of my friends, Nick, started using this method. At first, he could only repeat a few simple sentences, but after 2 weeks of consistent practice, he was able to understand short dialogues in YouTube videos and even create similar sentences on his own. His experience shows that starting with small steps and practicing consistently builds both listening skill and confidence. Now that your ears have had some practice and you're gaining confidence, the next step is to understand the difference between active and passive listening and how to stay focused on each sentence. Now that your ears are starting to get stronger, it's important to understand the difference between active listening and passive listening. Both have a place in language learning, but active listening is what truly helps you improve fast. Passive listening happens when you hear English without really focusing. For example, watching a movie with subtitles while your mind is elsewhere or listening to music while thinking about something else is mostly passive. Your brain doesn't fully process the sounds or meaning, so you don't remember much later. Active listening, on the other hand, means paying close attention to every word, sentence, and intonation. You try to understand meaning, notice pronunciation, and even predict what might come next. For example, listening to a short dialogue and focusing on the details, like who is speaking and what they are saying, is active listening. A simple exercise to practice: listen to one short sentence from a podcast or video. Then, try to pick out 3 key words from that sentence. Don't worry if you miss a word at first. Just focus on the words you can catch. Over time, your ability to hear more details will improve naturally. Let me share a short story. One of my students, Emma, loved watching English series but rarely focused on the dialogue. She couldn't understand conversations well, even though she knew the words. I suggested she practice active listening by listening to just one short clip without subtitles and writing down key words. After a week, she noticed she could understand main ideas and even repeat parts of sentences accurately. This shows us that active listening builds awareness and memory. It forces your brain to process English, rather than just letting it passively flow by. Once you get comfortable distinguishing active from passive listening, the next step is to build an emotional connection with what you hear. This makes learning more memorable and enjoyable. Now that you understand active listening, let's talk about something even more powerful: emotion. Our brains learn best when we care about what we're hearing. If a topic doesn't interest you, your mind tends to wander and memory doesn't stick. But when you feel connected, even a short sentence or conversation can leave a lasting impression. Think about your favorite hobbies or passions. How easy is it to remember details about something you love? The same principle works with learning English. When you listen to topics you enjoy, your brain naturally pays more attention, and learning becomes faster and more enjoyable. Let me share a short story. Alex, one of my students, was a huge football fan. At first, he struggled to remember English phrases from general podcasts. Then I suggested he listen to football podcasts in English. Suddenly, everything changed. He could repeat sentences, understand commentary, and even discuss matches in English. His love for football created a natural emotional connection, making the language easier to remember and use. Here's how you can apply this in your daily practice. Pick your favorite topic. It could be sports, music, cooking, travel, or anything you enjoy. Find English content about it. Podcasts, short videos, or even simple news articles work. Listen actively while feeling curious or excited. Pay attention to words, phrases, and expressions related to your interest. Engage with the content. Repeat phrases aloud, visualize scenes, or even share your thoughts with a friend. Mini challenge for today. Choose one topic you love. Search for a short English audio or video about it. Listen for 5 to 10 minutes, focus on key words, and try to repeat a few sentences aloud. You'll notice that learning feels easier and more natural. Creating an emotional connection makes English stick in your memory. When you enjoy what you're hearing, your brain treats it like important information. Next, we'll explore listening to short stories, which combines emotion, active listening, and repetition in a fun, memorable way. Now that you've learned how emotional connection boosts your memory, let's put it into practice with a short story. Stories are powerful because they combine context, emotion, and repetition, making it easier to remember new words and phrases. Here's a short story about Liam, a language learner. Liam loved traveling. One day he visited a small cafe in London. He wanted to order coffee in English but felt nervous. He looked at the menu and saw words he didn't know: latte, cappuccino, espresso. He took a deep breath and spoke to the barista. "I would like a cappuccino, please." The barista smiled and asked, "Do you want it hot or cold?" Liam remembered the word hot from a previous lesson and replied confidently, "Hot, please." The barista handed him the coffee and said, "Enjoy your drink." Liam smiled, feeling proud. He realized that practicing English in real situations made him confident and helped him remember new words easily. Notice how some words were repeated in the story. Coffee, cappuccino, hot, please, barista. Repetition in context helps your brain retain vocabulary better than memorizing lists. Mini exercise. After listening to this story, try these steps. Recall 3 key points from Liam's story. For example, where he went, what he ordered, how he felt. Repeat aloud 3 sentences from the story using your own words. Visualize the scene in your mind: the cafe, the barista, the coffee. This short exercise trains your listening, memory, and speaking at the same time. Stories like this also help your brain link words with real situations and emotions. When you hear English in meaningful contexts, it becomes much easier to recall later. Next, we'll learn a powerful technique called shadowing, which will let you speak fluently while improving your listening skills. Now that you've practiced listening through stories and real situations, it's time to take your listening to the next level with a method called shadowing. Shadowing is a technique where you listen and speak at the same time, following the rhythm and pronunciation of a native speaker. It's one of the fastest ways to improve both listening and speaking fluency. Why shadowing works. When you mimic a speaker immediately, your brain links sound, meaning, and pronunciation together. You don't just hear words, you start to feel the language, the tone, and the flow. Over time, your ear becomes tuned to English, and your speaking becomes smoother. Vocabulary tip: shadowing, following and copying something closely. Example: by shadowing native speakers, I improved my pronunciation quickly. How to practice shadowing. Start small. Pick a short sentence or a simple dialogue. Listen carefully. Play it slowly. Focus on intonation and rhythm. Speak immediately. Repeat the words at the same time or just after the speaker. Don't worry about mistakes. It's practice. Repeat multiple times. Each repetition strengthens memory and fluency. A short story. One of my students, Maya, struggled to understand English podcasts. She could read English well, but her listening was weak. I suggested she try shadowing. She started with short sentences from a news video. At first, she stumbled, but she kept repeating the sentences, copying the tone and rhythm. After 2 weeks, Maya noticed she could understand faster and speak more confidently. Mini exercise for today. Choose a 1 to 2 minute podcast clip or short video. Play it once and just listen. Play it again and shadow every sentence. Speak along immediately. Focus on rhythm, tone, and stress of words. Shadowing might feel challenging at first, but it trains your brain to think in English rather than translating from your native language. Next, we'll explore real-life practice, how to take all these techniques and apply them in everyday situations for maximum improvement. Now that you've learned techniques like active listening, shadowing, and emotional connection, it's time to bring your English into real-life situations. Practicing in real contexts helps your brain link words and phrases to real experiences, making your listening and speaking much stronger. Why real-life practice matters. Listening in a classroom or with prepared audio is helpful, but your brain remembers best when you hear English in context. This means in conversations, videos, songs, or daily life situations. Your memory becomes stronger, and your ear gets trained to understand English naturally. Vocabulary tip: context, the situation or environment in which something happens. Example: understanding a word in context makes it easier to remember. How to practice real-life listening. Pick a real source, a short video, a podcast episode, or a song. First listening, play it once without worrying about every word. Focus on overall meaning. Second listening, focus on details, new words, or expressions. Pause if needed and repeat phrases aloud. Apply in your life. If it's a dialogue about ordering coffee, imagine yourself in a cafe saying the phrases. A short story. One of my friends, Sam, wanted to improve his listening for travel. He chose a YouTube channel with daily English conversations. The first week, he just listened and tried to catch the gist. The second week, he paused, repeated phrases, and acted out scenes. By the end of the month, Sam could follow short conversations without subtitles and even repeat sentences naturally. Mini exercise for today. Find a short English video or podcast clip you like. Listen once for the general idea. Listen again, repeat important sentences aloud, and visualize the situation. Try to use one phrase in your own conversation today. Real-life practice connects everything you've learned so far. By applying listening skills in everyday situations, your brain starts absorbing English naturally, just like a native speaker. Next, we'll see how listening can directly improve your speaking skills and help you speak fluently. Now that you've practiced real-life listening, it's time to turn listening into speaking. Many learners understand English when they hear it, but struggle to speak fluently. The secret is connecting your ear to your mouth, training your brain to produce the language, not just recognize it. Why listening improves speaking. When you listen actively, your brain stores the sounds, rhythms, and sentence patterns of English. Repeating and using them helps you speak naturally and confidently. The more you hear correct phrases, the easier it is to recall and say them yourself. Vocabulary tip. Fluently. Speaking smoothly without stopping or struggling. Example. After practicing every day, she could speak English fluently. How to turn listening into speaking. Listen, repeat, use. Listen to a sentence or short dialogue. Repeat it aloud exactly as you hear it. Then try to change a word or two to make a new sentence. Shadowing technique. Speak simultaneously with the audio. Try to match the rhythm, stress, and tone. This improves pronunciation and speed. Practice with questions. After listening to a story or dialogue, ask yourself simple questions. What did they do first? How did the character feel? Answer aloud in full sentences. One of my students, Maya, loved watching cooking videos in English. At first, she could understand the instructions, but couldn't repeat them. I suggested she pause the video, repeat aloud, and imagine herself cooking. Soon, she was not only repeating sentences but also giving instructions to a friend in English. Her confidence grew, and speaking became natural. Mini exercise for today. Choose a short dialogue or video clip. Listen carefully and repeat every sentence aloud. Make one small change in each sentence to practice creating new sentences. Imagine using these sentences in your daily life. By connecting listening to speaking, you start thinking in English, not just translating in your head. This is the key to fluency. We've come a long way together in this episode, exploring how to boost your listening skills and speak more fluently. Let's quickly review the key points. First, active listening is your foundation. Focus on understanding, not just hearing. Visualization helps your brain remember better. Spaced repetition makes sure important words and phrases stay in your memory. Building an emotional connection with what you listen to makes it stick even more. Practicing in real-life situations brings your learning to life. Association links new words to things you already know, and context learning helps you understand how words are used naturally. Finally, action learning, using gestures and physical movements, creates even stronger memory anchors. Now here's something really important: consistency. If you dedicate just 15 minutes every day to these techniques, you will notice real progress in about 3 months. Your listening will improve, and your speaking will become more fluent. Remember, small daily habits are more powerful than occasional long sessions. Here's a small tip for today. Pick one technique we discussed, maybe active listening or shadowing, and practice it for 15 minutes. Pay full attention and enjoy the process. Notice how much easier it becomes to remember words and sentences after a few days of consistent practice. And before we finish, I want to encourage you. Learning English is a journey, and every step counts. Celebrate small victories, like understanding a new phrase in a podcast or answering a question without translating in your head. Those moments show your progress. Finally, a friendly reminder. Start your practice today, follow the channel for more tips, and make listening a part of your daily routine. Keep going, stay curious, and enjoy the journey. You're listening to Best English Podcast, your daily step toward better English. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep improving your English.